Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Welcome to the show, everyone. It's great to be here with you. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case, your host, Mark Manillo. We're all here together. Mark, great to have you, brother. Ready to rock and roll this Thursday?
It's a good morning, isn't it?
It sure is.
Praise God. And thank you for being with us today. We're glad you're all joining us, and we hope you'll call in and join the fun, because we do have fun here. And I want to remind you, tomorrow's our second weekly anniversary for our overtime show.
Can't wait for that.
How the time flies, Mark.
It feels like just yesterday we did the first overtime show. Actually, it was only 6
Just last week.
That's right.
Just last week. It was just last week. And the number here is 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you today. You know, there's a lot of crazy weather going out there. My wife and I were looking at some of the weather predictions and stuff, and they're talking about like a 1980s, or I forget what it was, where we got 3 foot here in St. Louis, the possibility of that happening again. And during that time, I didn't realize, you know, we were over at my dad's, and we ended up having to stay there because we couldn't find the car. There was so much snow, you know.
Did you see that in Russia? That's going on in Russia too, and they have snow drifts going up the apartment buildings. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And I just worry about all those that may not have a home, that may be living in their car, that may be out there, even the ones that it's their own fault, you know, either because they've chosen laziness or foolishness or drugs and stuff over trying to get their act together. Some people, that's the issue. Some people, they've tried and failed, and my heart breaks for them. But it breaks for all of them during this time, because they never expected to be in a life or death situation of 0 degrees and 3 foot of snow and ice and all this ugliness. So be in prayer for them, and and if you can, just turn up your charitableness when you come across somebody in need right now. Don't realize that now's not the time to try and convert them and reform them, but to keep them alive and help them to weather through this. Just some thoughts here.
You know, Mark, I appreciate those thoughts a lot, man. And if you guys will allow me to do so, I'm going to drift from the show notes a little bit, because I had a question for you with that, Mark. You had mentioned it yesterday, and it was convicting to me. As a young father with a wife and 3 kids, if I'm driving along the road and I see a person who looks like a homeless person, I'm not exactly sure what to do to help them, because I don't want to put my wife and kids in a strange situation or a dangerous situation, but I want to help this person too. So my question for you with that is, Mark, and again, we're drifting off the show notes here. If you want to chime in, folks, 610-363-1110. How do we,
the freedom of life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. How do we as Christians do that well? I mean, how do we look out for those who are homeless while also understanding that our first responsibility is to protect our own families and to keep them safe? Especially like you said, Mark, it is going to be freezing this weekend. It's going to be dangerous for people. If you don't have a home, if you don't have heat, it's going to be really dangerous. What do we do?
You know, my friend, you've heard me talk about him, Joe, down in Branson, Missouri. He has a street ministry where he cares for those people that are living on the street and stuff. Every year he does a drive for blankets and coats, and he goes out and he finds somebody. If they need a coat, he gives them a coat. I'm not saying we should all be going out and doing that, but what if you have an extra coat or 2 at home? Why not throw it in the car and have it there? And if you come across somebody who needs a coat, give it to them. You know, and here's the thing. You say you're worried about the children. I get that. But if you pull up somewhere near somebody, Seth, you could get out of the car. Your wife can lock the car doors. You can walk over there. You can let them know that God, for some reason, had you put that coat in the car, and now you think the reason is because this person needed it, and you wanted them to know that God loves them, and this is from God. You know, and then and move on. Or if you see somebody standing there, you know, freezing or something, if you don't want to give them money, go around the corner, get them a cup of coffee and bring it back. But your children will see this. Your children will see Christ in you. More so, I mean, the ripple effects are incredible. When you're generous, when you're compassionate, your children will see this. That's going to draw them closer to God than lecturing them or dragging them, to kiddie Bible school or whatever. When they see it in action, especially in their hero, their parents, their father, they're going to see this compassion. Now, I really believe that it's important at this time of year we don't make I don't know exactly how to say it, that we're a lot freer in the giving. Whenever I give money to anybody, I always let them know, hey, this is from God. He'd like you to use it in a way that honors him, but that's between you and God. Can I pray for you? And I give them the money. It's very important they know it's from God, because it's not my money that I'm giving, it's God's. I'm the conduit. He allowed me to participate in this act of love and charity to this individual. And however the person uses it, that's between them and God. Now, if I have the time, I would love to help them more. And Cindy and I have done that a lot. But if there's something in dire straits, like freezing cold and stuff like that, or floods or famines, maybe it's just good to be charitable and let them know God loves them.
Yeah, there's no time for the analysis paralysis.
Right. And let your children see God work through you and you surrendering to his ways.
That's great, Mark. Thank you for sharing that with me. Honestly, I'm not just, it's not an act when we talk on the show, folks. We're actually real people who go through this stuff. Just a couple weeks ago, guys, I was driving down the road with Megan and the kids and drove past someone who we weren't sure they were homeless. They might have been, might not have been. And Megan convicted me because I drove past them. And she was like, why are you not, and I tried to give the same argument that I just gave you, Mark. And my wife, it's a good advice to listen to your wife. She said a lot of the same things that you did, and so that's a really good reminder, brother. Well, I appreciate that.
Seth, that's so real that you're afraid they're not homeless. I'm always afraid it's just going to be some hippie guy.
Right.
He's like, what are you doing?
I also don't want to go up to someone and say, hey,
I'm actually a millionaire. I like the Grateful Dead. That's why I look like this.
Why did you think I was homeless? Yeah, but anyway.
Or it could have been an angel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, granted, if I have my grandkids and my wife and me in the car, and I'm driving down the road and there's somebody, you don't see it much anymore, hitchhiking or walking or carrying a gas can, I won't pull over for them because I need to protect them first.
Sure.
If I'm by myself, I have no problems doing that. I think it's different. I think it's a little different, in that light, because you never know. Like, it could be a setup, could be a wacko, could be whatever. But, I'm not going to put my grandchildren or my wife in harm's way that way.
Yeah. Oh, well said, brother. I so appreciate you giving us that, Mark. The balance between wisdom and generosity and needing to have both, I think is really good. Yeah. Well, guys, we already have a call coming in the queue, so maybe we'll get to that on the other side of this break. But the Davos World Economic Forum meeting is going on right now. Sam, just give us the quick details. What's happening here that we need to know about?
Yeah, sure. So President Trump made quite the showing at Davos the other day. He ran down a lot of the things you think he was going to talk about, touting American success, ripping Europeans. I mean, what would be a classic Trump trip to Europe if he didn't make fun of the Europeans,
Delightful.
Right? Especially energy. He had this great line where he was talking about green energy, and he said, I noticed a country, whenever it has more windmills, the worse the country is. That's kind of my metric for rating countries. More windmills equals worse country. And of course, plenty of time was also spent on Greenland as well. Big news on Greenland. Trump, after the meeting at Davos, said he also met with NATO, the NATO chief, and he says they have come up with a framework deal of sorts following that meeting and will not be placing tariffs on European countries over Greenland anymore. And of course, he also shared details of domestic policies, credit card caps, lowering drug prices, etc. And then I think domestically, another really fascinating thing I thought of Mark with this, because this is a big issue with him, is the debt. Trump was talking about the $39 trillion in national debt and said the biggest way we're going to get out of this is through economic growth. Here's a quick clip of him talking about that.
Well, the big thing is growth. I mean, growth is the way. If we grow like this, we go from having at $37 trillion. We go from having high debt to low debt. But we also are cutting expenses, the old-fashioned way. We have extraordinary growth. I think we're going to be growing our way out. I think we're going to be paying off debt. We're taking in tremendous money from tariffs.
And his other way of suggesting growing out of debt was also by cutting costs. I do have another quick clip I think we can sneak in there.
Now, if you take a look at Minnesota, $19 billion in fraud. Can you believe that? That's just one state. If we were able to cut out 50% of the fraud, 50%, and we should be able to do better than that, we would have a balanced budget without having to talk about even growth.
And that was the whole Davos recap. I'd love to get your opinion on it, Mark, when we come back from this break.
Yeah, it sounds like it's worth talking about.
Yep, sounds great. Folks, give us a call, 610-363-1110. If you have comments on anything we talked about in that first segment, Mark's words, or want to chime in on what's going on in Davos, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this.
Fear and uncertainty.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really, really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurschools.com.
Everyone keeps talking about how important it is to invest. But every time I try to understand it, I just get more and more confused.
I get it. Stocks are scary. The market's
Investing isn't something you do. It's a calculated process that requires...
I've had enough of the noise.
If you want some help with investing, you should check out Financial Issues.
I started investing today. Since getting connected to Financial Issues, I've had no more worries. Go to financialissues.org to become a partner today.
Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
It is great to be here with you. Hope that you're enjoying the first part of our show. Number is 610-363-1110. Mark, before we pick up the Davos conversation, why don't we go to the phones, shall we?
Let's do that. It looks like we got Daryl. Daryl, welcome to Financial Issues. Are you staying warm?
Oh, trying to, but it ain't too bad today, but it's fixing to get bad.
Yeah. So what's on your mind today?
Well, first, welcome to the family. I hadn't talked to you since you joined, and it's just great. I love hearing your heart and all. Hey, the question I've got a little bit of confusion related to things I remember Dan saying, and then I just retired, and so I was wondering.
Congratulations!
Yes, it's been great. I recommend it. And anyway, what progression should you pull out of the different accounts? I've got the Roth, the traditional, and the just a regular brokerage account. What is your suggestion and thinking behind that progression that you should pull out of those accounts for your living?
Yeah, well, it's not so much on timing as it is on income taxes. You say you're just retired, so my guess is hopefully you're still physically and mentally able to enjoy life at this point. So you're probably going to spend a lot more money than you thought you were going to. That's generally what happens. And in such, your taxes might be higher than you than you thought they were going to be. You know, oftentimes people think, well, I'm just going to defer my taxes to the future when I'm in a lower tax bracket at retirement, but then they go and end up spending more than they did when they were working because they have 24/7 off, you know. So, you know, they start traveling and doing things. So you have to judge that based on your taxes. If you think you're going to be traveling, you're going to spend a lot of money, you're going to be pulling a lot of money out, you know, the first thing you might pull out of is, and I think it's always good, is if you have losses when you do your tax harvesting, tax loss harvesting at the end of the year, that would be the first money. Instead of just selling stuff off and leaving it in there or redeploying it, you might pull it off and create the next 2 or 3 months income. I'm just throwing out ideas. And then, you know, obviously you can always hit your individual account, because remember, there are some tax advantages to that. Every year you've paid your capital gains on that already. So the money you pull out, even if you have to sell stuff to pull it out, you're going to be paying it at a capital gains rate, which is normally less than your income tax rate, which hopefully now will be less than your income tax rate before. So it could come down to be pretty cheap there. You know, you do. I always look at if you started deferring your taxes, you ought to try and defer them as long as possible, so that when you do start taking it out, it's during those years where you're not spending as much as you used to. So, you know, your income taxes are zip, you know, or near zip, hopefully, you know, that kind of thing. But every year, you just got to be looking at it and decide, do I still have a lot of income coming in along with my Social Security? You want to make sure that if you're pulling out a lot of money, it doesn't affect the Medicare, you know, charge that you get hit with, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Or did I just complicate it?
No, it made some sense. So it's kind of like just got to decide year after year exactly which would be the best, depending on what my taxes is going to be. Makes sense. Yeah.
A lot of people just want a strict rule of thumb type of thing. I'm not good with that, because I know there is no normal person. You know, we're all different and our life's different, and we don't know what God has for us. But yeah, here's a plus for that. I used to get so frustrated with the way the tax laws and, you know, the books this thick every year. If you want to learn the tax laws, you got to go through a book that thick, and then there's all these different plays on all this. It used to really bother me. And then as I got older, I realized, you know, just by staying on top of stuff, it helps you live longer and think better and keeps your mind sharper. So maybe God saw this as a way to keep all us old guys sharp. What do you think, Daryl?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for the thoughts there.
Hey,
God bless you.
Mark and Daryl. Okay, Daryl, can you hang on for just a second, brother? Because I actually have a question, Mark, and this could maybe help some other listeners also. Daryl, I'll ask you first. Daryl, how old are you?
66.
66. Okay,
66.
Awesome. So Mark, Daryl's within, and Daryl, you said you do have a traditional IRA, right?
Yes, traditional and Roth and the regular account.
Okay, awesome. So Mark, what would... You know, because Daryl doesn't need to take RMDs for another 7 years.
Right.
How would that factor in, you know, kind of into this, though? Should he factor that into his decision making, like, at all?
Oh, absolutely. You know, one of the things that brought to mind is, and I'm glad you brought that question up, if you are in a really low income tax bracket, if you're ending up not paying any income tax right now, you might want to start converting some of that traditional IRA to a Roth, so that you're no longer pushing it forward, but you're actually making it tax-free. And you can do that. A lot of people call it bracket restraint. You look at what your income is and how much more you could have made or brought in income this year before you change tax brackets, and just convert that amount each year for the next, every year you do that until the Roth is gone. Until the traditional is gone, and all you have is a Roth, which then you don't have any tax issues.
Yeah, I've actually started that. And unfortunately, I've still got 82% in that traditional, unfortunately, though, too.
Yeah. Well, and it might be a good time then to start doing some conversion.
Yes. Thank you.
All righty. God bless,
Thanks,
sir.
Daryl. That's great. Mark, thanks for answering that question. It was just something that I had in mind also. Wasn't sure if that was something that could maybe factor into this too. So appreciate that, brother.
Well, yeah, no, it's a good thought.
I'll tell you what, guys, let's move back over to our ruling overlords in Davos. Mark, I want to hear your thoughts. Of course, one of, we also had our representative, our great 47th president over there, and I definitely enjoyed hearing that clip a little bit. But Mark, what are your thoughts just, coming off of that?
Oh, well, I'm really glad they're talking about debt. I'm glad that's a good thing that they're talking about it. I mean, in the past, the only time they talked about it is when they were forced to. So I think that since it's on this administration minds, that's a good sign. Now let's do something about it. It's kind of like the whole idea of codifying Trump's executive orders. The idea that we're starting to see some talk in the House of Representatives is a good thing. Now do something about it.
Actually,
let's
get it
see
done.
some action.
Yeah, that package I'm looking at, Mark, they say that if they do get it passed, they could save something like $1 trillion, but that is if they actually pass it as is.
If they get it done, right? Yeah. And that's the thing. But, the idea that growth will take care of the deficit. I know he didn't say it like that, but yeah, it will impact it. But it sounds like he's more saying that the debt to gross domestic product will that ratio will get more palatable. Well, that's not important. What's really important is getting the debt down. Period. Now, GDP growth, a country that has great growth going on, could actually be bringing in a whole lot more revenues to help do that. So I agree with that too. The big thing is the interest costs compounding the problem. Now, I've heard people say it's a third of our budget, our national budget. Some people saying it's approaching half or breaching half. I mean, you think about that. One of the things we have to do is do something about the debt. One way to do that is to bring the interest rates down. Now, that has a lot of ripple effects in all sorts of areas. So I don't want to go into all that right now. But paying interest on our debt it's just crazy right now. If we could get back to where we're paying very little interest on the debt, or the interest rate on our national debt comes down dramatically, that would help as well. But I believe the biggest thing, and I've read this just 2 days in a row, where somebody stated, some news reporter said that the fraud, if we just ended the fraud that we know of, that could reduce our deficit spending every year by 50%.
Yeah, that's what Trump was saying. He said if we could cut even half of the fraud, maybe he's being a little hyperbolic here, but he said, if we could cut half of the fraud in the country, we'd have a balanced budget.
There you go. And I believe that's probably true, especially when you see every agency is just pouring out money, including today before the show, I saw that the Small Business Administration is still sending out like $25 billion. They have a $25 billion slush fund and are still sending out millions of dollars a month for DEI projects.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, his example was Minnesota, $19 billion in fraud that we know of. And he's saying that's just one state. Just imagine what all the other states are doing. Yeah. I'd hate to look at California.
19 billion. Multiply that by 50.
Right.
So, and then take in, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, yeah, let's get the fraud under control. Let's get this government under control. Where's Elon when we need him?
Yeah, there you go. Now, Mark, here's my question for you, and maybe it's just because I'm misunderstanding. Why did Trump feel the need to have to even mention this at Davos? It's not like he's getting permission from these ruling overlords in Europe, right?
Well, I do want to say, Seth, it was actually a question asked to him. It was during the Q&A. I liked the question the guy asked. He said, Trump, I'm sure that one thing that keeps you up at night, well, you don't sleep anyway, but I'm sure if you did sleep, what would be keeping you up is the debt. It was a good question.
Makes sense. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if other countries are contributing to this or have some kind of relationship with it.
Yeah. I just did a press response and about what's going on with the codifying the laws in the House of Representatives. By the way, if you're a House of Representative, if you're somebody that's on that committee, if you're there, we want to talk to you. Give us a call. We're trying to get somebody on from our House of Representatives to discuss this with us. But now there's some momentum here. It may be just a little, it may be just optics, but if you can, write your senator, write your rep, and say, hey, let's get this done, and let's get this debt done too. Let's get it down.
Well
the
said,
more they
brother.
hear from us, the better. And right now, we have some momentum, so let's do it. I think they're listening to financial issues, Seth.
That certainly helps. Well, if the conspiracy theories are true, then they're listening to us all the time. So they're definitely listening to financial issues. That's right.
I never thought about that.
Absolutely. They must be listening to financial issues.
By the way, that bill is called the Reconciliation 2.0 Framework. So I'd encourage you to look that up and see if your congressman is on there and maybe give him a call.
Yeah, very good. Well, guys, the markets yesterday roared back for sure by the closing bell Wednesday. All of the major indices were pretty positive. Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ each eclipsed 1%. The Russell 2000 was up around 2% yesterday, so markets feeling confident. I think the pre-markets were feeling pretty confident today as well. Hey, coming up next, folks, we've got Joel Noble of Samaritan Ministries. We're going to be talking about Trump's great health care plan. You're not going to want to miss that. That's on the other side of this break, as well as your calls and questions. If you have to leave us, we hope you have a great day. Join us tomorrow for Friday overtime after the show as well. The rest of you, more financial issues coming up. Don't go anywhere.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan.
My baby was like this big. He was like this tiny little spectrum of hope and this unnamed beauty, in a sense. It was poetic. And I saw his heart beating on the screen. And I mean, I went from, I don't want this baby, it's just a fetus, it's just cells put together, to talking to my child on the screen and feeling really protective and knowing that there's life growing inside. I mean, that sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to mom. I'm a mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Welcome back, folks. Great to be here with you on Financial Issues. You can learn more about our ministry at financialissues.org. You can become a partner there. Just click that Become a Partner button in the top left-hand corner. Hey, Sam, let's get to Trump's great healthcare plan here. What's going on with that exactly? I'm excited to hear Mark's thoughts on it.
Such a Trumpian name, right? The great healthcare plan. Everything's the great and the best. He talked about it at Davos a little bit, but it was actually announced, I think, on last Thursday, calling on Congress to pass his great healthcare plan, lowering drug costs, insurance premiums, also increasing transparency. It does a bunch of different things, including codifying the most favored nation policy, stopping foreign countries from paying less than Americans for prescription drugs, requiring health insurers to publish clear upfront pricing and coverage information in plain language, so you're not reading this cryptic ancient text to figure out what your healthcare plan actually is. But his biggest part of this plan, this is the thing he's been touting a lot, is replacing those Obamacare subsidies, those temporary subsidies, with direct payments directly to patients. So here's Trump talking about that.
We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan. Instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket. The government is going to pay the money directly to you. It goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care.
You know, Mark, I'm not going to complain when money goes directly to me. Details are still pending, though, but it seems like a pretty good idea.
Well, there's a lot of great things in what he discussed, and including the idea of making a billing clear, upfront, transparent. I just remember so many times being at a hospital or at a doctor's, and nobody could tell me what this all was going to cost or what all was involved or what did they pay for this, And then my wife was a nurse, and we found out that at the hospital she's worked at one time that, they were charging like $100 and something for an aspirin. And it just was ridiculous because they just did what they could do because nobody could question them because there wasn't no clarity or transparency to it. So I like a lot of what's going on in this. The one area I'm not so sure about how it will affect everything is the part that you highlighted there, where the money goes directly to the individuals. So what I thought I'd do is bring in somebody who's in the industry who can help us figure this out. So we gave our friends at Samaritan Ministries a call, and Joe Noble, Director of Public Policy, is joining us now to help us work through this. Welcome to the show, Joel.
Thanks for having me.
No, we're honored. Joel, a key part of this this plan that the administration has right now is that the subsidies are replaced and money is supposed to be sent directly to individuals. What do you think about this? How do you think this will work? Do you think what's the pros and cons?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like you said at the beginning, it's always great, when money's coming back to the end user. That is a great way to handle it. Samaritan being a healthcare sharing ministry, one of the things we always talk about is how our members have complete control of their healthcare dollars. So this would be very helpful in that area to be able to get money back to the consumer. There's a lot of different plans out there. I think the leading one that everyone's seeing is putting that money into HSAs, which is health savings accounts. And what that looks like, whether it's a traditional HSA or what they're talking about freedom accounts. What I love about the plan with the freedom accounts that they're looking at is they're going to say that those can't be used for abortion or transgender, like gender reassignment, which is a great way to approach it. That's one of the small downsides of an HSA, is that currently you can use it for things that, like, our members would not want their healthcare dollars going towards.
I appreciate you bringing that up. That's very important. That helps those who are convicted to honor God in all they do, including their health care dollars, to do so. Well, with these different types of accounts and whatnot, and Samaritan Ministries, they have a different way of doing things. So explain how Samaritan does it, and then whether or not this money might be able to be used for Samaritan shares.
Yeah, absolutely. So Samaritan is not insurance, so it's direct sharing of medical needs. So when I say direct sharing, it means the money's not coming into us. We're not pulling the money. We're not transferring the risk to us. We're just directing our members to share in each other's medical needs. So when a member has a need, they submit that to us. We make that clear to the other members. The members have a set amount based on their family size, and they're sending their check or their electronic share every month to another member. So how the plan works for us is there's a couple different paths we see taking. One is getting this money back to the consumer directly. Mm-hmm. And the other is what they're calling reconciliation, which is just a budget strategy to be able to, do revenue. In the reconciliation, they have called out Healthcare Sharing Ministries specifically in that framework from the Republican Study Committee for tax parity for healthcare sharing. So we're optimistic if that goes forward, we may see some tax deductibility for healthcare sharing ministries like Samaritan, and more importantly, opening up HSAs for us. So if HSAs get opened up, then that money that's going into an HSA might be able to be used for healthcare sharing ministry shares to be able to have tax deduction for that, or tax shelter in this case.
Well, that would be awesome. So it would be. So then people would have the freedom of directing their dollars where they that are in line with their beliefs, and they would be able to get the kind of insurance that they want, not that somebody else wants for them. And what like when I was still had my advisory, our insurance was through the roof for one thing, but it was also paying for abortions. It was paying for everything you could think of. It was crazy, and it's like that's why my costs were so high. It's like, wow, this is outrageous. So now people would be able to join in with Samaritan Ministries, as so many people have, and found it to be substantially less than their insurance, like Cindy and I did at one time, and then be able to use this money, hopefully use this money that the government is talking about, that Trump is talking about. That would be an awesome thing. I'd like to see that come to fruition, actually. Is there anything else that we need to know from this that you're seeing that would be important for us to be praying about?
Yeah. So the only other thing is be watching the Supreme Court closely. There's a case there to decide whether the tariffs that the president did were lawful or not. So if he wins that case, that will free up billions of dollars. And it's sort of this putting the money back into HSAs or giving to the consumer. A lot of that is dependent on getting that tariff money that's being challenged in the court. Everything I've read seems to indicate that the president's probably going to win the case and get that money freed up. But all these plans you're seeing, a lot of it's dependent on getting those billions of dollars from the tariffs. So just, your listeners, if they're not already, watching the Supreme Court, watch that. And so that's really where the money's going to come from.
Well, thank you, Joe. That's some good insights into what's going on with our administration and with Samaritan Ministries. We're going to be in prayer for you. And as you know, we use Samaritan Ministries here at Financial Issues for our health care. So God bless you, sir. And thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was an honor. That's very interesting, Seth.
Mark, I'm so glad that Joel brought that up. I would never have thought that the tariff ruling would be connected to healthcare and health sharing. But Joel, I'm so glad that he brought that up. That's exactly right.
Not alone, Seth. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's very interesting because different ways to get it passed. If they're going to try and get it passed without having to have a supermajority, I guess you can't affect the budget is what it comes down to. So if the tariffs stay in, then they can say the tariffs are offsetting any cost of this. So that makes total sense. And again, like you said, I didn't put that together right off the bat, but that makes sense. The idea of using these health savings account for health insurance, but also being able to use it for health sharing organizations, that'll be a wonderful thing. So even though we get angry with the administration every now and then about them not considering those who have a desire to honor God with everything they do, like the new Trump kitty account or whatever they're calling
Trump
it.
Accounts.
they do have us on their mind. They are trying to. It's just a lot on their plate, I guess. So let's be praying for them as well.
You know, Mark, it's a good reminder, too. We talk about this a lot with the fight for life. Politics is a long game. And it's two steps forward, one step back. And if you can get those 2 steps forward, and maybe you'll have a step or a step and a half back, that's still a win. I mean, we're slowly gaining ground. That's what we're trying to do. You're not going to hit the grand slam every time. You know, sometimes you need to hit a sack fly or a suicide squeeze to get someone home, you know, so.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, you know, it's time to wake up, everybody. We need to light up these phones. We're going into our last segment, and if you want to be heard, if you want to join the party, you got to do it now. Otherwise, you got to wait, what, 24 hours?
Like 23 hours and 15 minutes or something like that, Mark. And you don't want to do that. Why would you do that when you can call in right now?
Absolutely
and talk
unbearable.
To us right now. Like literally within the next 3 minutes, we're going to go to phones after this commercial break, and we can talk to you. So if you're on the fence, you're afraid of calling into a radio show, don't be. We love getting to talk to you. We're glad to help you out. And the number is 610-363-1110. Again, 610-363-1110. Give us a call, folks. We would love to hear from you. More financial issues coming on the other side of this break. Don't forget, tomorrow after the live show, overtime on financialissues.org exclusively, as well as our FISM app, so you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great time on tomorrow's show. But before that, give us a call, 610-363-1110.
My wife and I help lead a Crossroads Kids Club, and one of the girls, she said, Mr. Dave, you keep talking about like you didn't really believe in Jesus and you were like dead or something, and then like you believed in Jesus and then you're like alive, and I want to receive that. And so we like just prayed there in our group to receive Jesus and owning this idea of life with Jesus for the first time.
Help reach kids with the hope of
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
I found out I was pregnant when I was 21 years old. For me, I was scared, I was shaking. They do an ultrasound. And that's when everything changed. When I saw my baby and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it. We've seen the hand of God ever since we stepped into the pregnancy center.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
610-363-1110. Lines are open for you, folks. Go ahead and fill those babies up right now. Mark, we got a lot of good questions to get to here, though, so why don't we start with Kenneth?
Let's do it.
Yeah, he's 60 years old. He says, hey, Mark, Dan Celia advised me about 9 years ago on doing 40% each in TPLC and 40% in TPHD, as well as 20% in a money market. I'm 60 years old now. I have a SEP IRA. I'm self-employed, and I'm wondering if this is a good plan to stay on. It seems to have done well for me. Also, a follow-up question is investing in any of the Israel Timothy mutual funds a good idea for me, and is there a fee to invest in those? Mark, why don't we stop there and tackle that first question he has of just wondering if this is a good plan to stay on. Again, 40% in TPLC, 40% in TPHD, and 20% in the money market.
Well, Kenneth, I think that if you look at that, that was a good allocation back then. You had good diversification because the mutual funds have multiple stocks in each of them, one a mid-large cap. So you have the mid-cap and the large cap covered, and then you have the high dividend, which would be, it could even include some small caps, but primarily mid-caps and large caps that pay out high dividends. As we get further on in our life, and especially as we start approaching retirement and or in retirement, we often would recommend that you consider more income to stabilize the portfolio. So you might want to be looking into the Timothy Plan mutual funds, when they're fixed income, or even at this point, you might even take a slice of the high income fund. I forget what the symbol is on that off the top of my head. So you might want to move maybe move 20 to 30% of your portfolio there, along with the mid, large cap and the high dividend a mutual fund, so that it gives you a little more diversification. The income's there, and then the growth is there, and you have it all. As you get more and more into retirement or closer to retirement, you could start moving into a few other things. I thought I heard you say something about the Israeli Common Values Fund. Is that correct?
He wants to know if it's a good choice
that's actually his next question, is wondering if the Israel Fund is a good option.
Yeah, a small portion of that. I would keep it down to 5 or 10% because it can be highly volatile. But this last year, it wasn't really that volatile. It just went straight up. No, it wasn't that good, but it was pretty good. Yeah, you could add a little bit of that, spice it up with that as well, but make it a smaller portion, a smaller percentage. And I think you'd be doing fine in there. I see you say, did he say something about the dividends, or what was it about the fee or something he said?
Yeah, he was asking if, investing in the Israel Fund is a good idea, and if there's a fee to invest in the Israel Fund or dividend earnings for it as well.
Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about a fee from your brokerage or your platform. Of course, every mutual fund has its internal fees, its 12B1s, its share class fees. For example, A shares could be anywhere from a couple of points all the way up to 5 points. C class are usually one on the front and one on the back, or one on the front every year. B shares, they're all different anyway. So whenever possible, you use institutional. That confuses a lot of people because the iShares aren't always available to individuals unless you have massive amounts of money to put in them. I thought I heard $2,500 on one platform, and I heard $25,000 on another. And some platforms won't even allow you to have them unless you are an incorporated institutional investor. So you got to be careful with that. And most people go for the A shares. Those I don't think are the costs you're looking at. There were, as we looked into these on the different platforms, there was a charge by some platforms to allow you to get into iShares, but you had to pay a fee with that, like $250 or something. I don't know if I would do that if it's smaller amounts. I'd find a different way to do that if you're going to, if you absolutely have to have the iShares instead of going for the A shares.
Yeah, that's good, Mark.
Would there be foreign tax, though, maybe as a type of fee? I don't know, in case that's what he's thinking about.
That didn't sound like what he was going to.
Okay, I was just trying to read between the lines and maybe try to figure out what he's getting at.
Sure. Those little things always happen with anything from not anything, but a lot of things from overseas. If they're not ADRs or something like that, there could be some foreign tax, but that's usually taken out prior to you seeing it anyway. So,
So Mark, here's Kenneth's final question. And this, I really think this is kind of the heart behind the original question too, is should I invest in any aggressive stocks or ones that say preferred? And I was wondering with this, Mark, because it seems like Kenneth's plan that Dan advised him almost a decade ago is a pretty conservative one. So should he get a little more aggressive, I think is really kind of the question.
Well, that almost feels in reverse. You should have been more aggressive before and slowly getting less aggressive as you go on. But I'm an aggressive investor, and I know many people who are elderly and stuff, and that's okay, because remember, there's different characteristics that define you and your investment investment personality. One is where you are in life and how much money you have, and how you sleep at night, knowing that that money could go away if the markets crash, or if the aggressive companies falter, things like that. So if you're a type of person who is comfortable with aggressive companies and high volatility in a company, even if the markets are pretty stable, I don't see any reason not to have a sliver of aggressive stocks in your portfolio. I also like the idea that no matter what, you have some preferreds in there, because preferreds don't move. They're not as volatile usually. And they're not in there for growth. They're more in there for income. They lean towards being more like a bond than they do a stock. So I think going with, depending on the size of your portfolio, peppering both in there is not a bad idea. You might want to go. You might want to go into the back end, into the Partners Hub, and take a look at the asset allocations there, just for educational purpose. Even if you don't want to follow an asset allocation like we have back there, you could look at that and say, "Oh wow, you know what? Even in this, they have this fund or that fund, and maybe I'm comfortable with that." And then you weigh out your sleep factor, you weigh out the assets, the amount of money you have, to determine, should I do individual or should I go into funds? Because you want to have 100,000 or more before you start. Really, I believe, before you start picking individual stocks, just so you can be diversified enough. I know some people who go in with $10,000 and buy 2 stocks, and that doesn't give you very much diversification. But with the mutual funds and then some individual stocks, you could do that.
That's great, Mark. Appreciate that. Kenneth, thanks for that question, brother, and keep on asking. Keep on asking.
Well, Seth, I was going to say, I'm just wondering why Dan encouraged him to be so conservative to begin with, so that would be a factor too. What was that original reason?
Well,
and needs to think about what that was.
I'll challenge that a little bit. That's not a conservative portfolio. A mid-large cap growth could have some terrible years and some serious volatility. The TP, what was it? The
TPLC and TPHD.
TPHD, yeah.
The TPHD, that's as volatile as the TPLC can be as volatile. It just has dividends in it.
Makes sense.
So it wasn't really a conservative, ultra-conservative portfolio. It was a conservative portfolio,
Mark,
but it wasn't really a defensive portfolio.
Right. I'm glad you cleared that up, because when I saw it, Sam, maybe you saw this too, 20% in a money market is a pretty considerable amount. And then just assuming, okay, just in 2 ETFs. But like you said, those can be pretty volatile ETFs. And let's face it.
The money market portion of it was ultra conservative. But we don't know what the original allocation was for.
Exactly.
Was it because where were the markets when he did that? Were the markets pulling back? Were they crashing? 9 years ago, I'd have to go look and take a look and see. So there's a lot of things that may have been on Dan's mind when he said that. It's like, oftentimes we'll say, hey, now's the time to be keeping some dry powder, because the markets have become overvalued and they look like they're pulling back. So let's anything we prune or anything that we sell off at this time, maybe it's time to just keep that in dry powder until we see a clear direction and positive direction on the market. That could have been that year when he gave him that allocation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at. He needs to know what the context of that was.
Yeah.
Of why he was
a lot of context.
And let's face it too. Mark, you're talking to me and Sam here.
I was going to say that everything to me seems conservative.
That's right. And Sam, I'm pretty close to you. I don't know if I'm quite at your spot, but pretty darn close. So yeah, it's going to be more conservative than our portfolios for sure. But that's also because we're a lot younger too, Mark. So.
Well, yeah, and you guys are that free spirit of investing that you two have. Yeah.
It's just so
what's funny is I'm quite cautious about so many things in my life, but with investing, I'm like, let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Have some fun. But you know what? It needs to be fun, right? And why would you do it if there wasn't a little bit? As long
as you're prudent and realizing it's God's money.
Amen. Yeah. Absolutely. Mark, I'm glad you're here to temper us with wisdom. That's really good.
Well, and that's why we are here, though, because as I've often said, I'm more an aggressive investor than probably most people my age. But some of that might be because God has had me in the industry for 35, 40 years, and I have a lot of insight, so I'm comfortable with it. And I've weathered downturns, and I've weathered losses, and I know how that turns out eventually, and I can see how to manage that better than maybe some other people can. In most cases, I say be prudent. Follow God's directive in your life, and always, like all of our partners, and hopefully most, if not all of our listeners, continue to honor God in all ways, including how you invest with biblical integrity. God bless you all. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, because we're going to be here, and we're hoping you will too.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.